This lesson is a statistics lesson and is on the effect of shifting, adding, and removing data points from a data set. Let's take a look at the data on this dot plot. We have the Boys Club canned food drive. We have a dot plot of all the number of cans collected. There are 25 data points, and the median is 45. How do I know that? Well, I start crossing these off one at a time on all sides. 1, 2, 3. You keep going, and you would find yourself right in here. Now, we can also calculate the mean. We take each data point and we multiply it times its value. So, for example, we have 20. It's 1 times 20. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 30, 3 times 35, etc. And when I do all the multiplication, the addition, I find that the mean is 44.2. So I have that data. I can calculate that data from a dot plot such as this. But what would happen to the mean and the median if we removed those outliers from the data set? The outliers, we had one that was 20 and we had one that was 70, so we could pretty much say that those were outliers. Well, now we would have 23 data points because we took 2 away, and we would find that the median is still 45. Again, if you start crossing off, you have 23, so that means that 22, so you're going to cross off 11 on either side, and you would find yourself right here. Now the mean would be slightly lower. It calculates to 44.1, which is just slightly lower. I believe the mean before was 44.6. So it is slightly lower. It makes sense because you had 70, a value of 70 here, and you had a value of 20 here. 70 plus 20 is 90, so that's going to be taken out of your calculation. And plus you're then also dividing that lower number by a smaller number of data points. So it is going to obviously lower it. Now what if we remove 2 more data points from the just the lower end? So we had 2 points right in here, and we took those out. So we took those 2 out. Well, now we would have 21 data points, and the median is still 45. The mean is higher though, comes out to 45.5. Not a lot higher, but it is higher. So why is this happening? Well, we have 21 data points, and so that means 10 on either side, and even 10 on both sides. Here's 9 right here, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here's 9 here. Then we have 10, and we have 10, so it still puts us right here as the median. And why is the mean higher? Remember, we took off 2 of the values of the lower, 2 lower values. So we took out 60, and so again it lowers the number, and the total is 955, but we're also dividing by fewer data points, and it came out higher. Why? Because most of our value is over on this side. So what would change the median? What would affect the median? Well, if we still have our 21 data points, what would happen if we moved this point here, this data point here, and this data point here? What would happen if we moved them over to this side? And we moved them right here, added it to those. Well, interestingly enough, the median decreases at that point to 40. So it moves from here to here. And that makes sense because we have more data points now on this side than we have on this side. And the mean is also lower. Why is the mean lower? Well, that also makes sense because remember the value of this data point is 55. The value of this data point is 50. So 50 and 55, we've taken that out. So we've taken out 105 points in terms of value. So we have a lower total value, and we divide by 21, 43.6. So our mean got lower and our median decreased. So let's summarize what we've seen. We have an initial data set here, and we find that our median, this is our median right here, we find that our median is 5, and we do that by just crossing off left and right till we have one left, or we have two left, and we add those and divide by 2. And if we were to shift this data point to here and this data point to here, so that one didn't show up, but we'll put it in there. Shifting those two data points decreases the median. Does that make sense? And by decrease, we mean that we actually moved it to the left, as you can see. Well, of course it does, because if we take two of these that are on the right side of the, or on the median and above it, and we move it to the opposite side, then we're going to have more points, data points on this side, so it's going to have to shift that median down. Now let's look at it a different way. What if we actually took two of the data points and we shifted them across our original median of 5? Well, what happens? It increases the median. Of course it does. There are more data points over here than there are on this side. So that makes sense. Now what about the effect on the mean? We're going to have the same data set. This is our initial data set and our median of 5. We have a mean of 4.6. So in our example from before, we're going to move or shift these two data points over here. What's going to happen to the mean? What do you think is going to happen? Well, it's lower. That makes sense, of course, because here we had a value of 9, we had a value of 5, that's 14, took away 14, and we only added a value of 3 and a value of 2, 5. So we had a negative 9 value decrease, and so of course the total is going to be less, and that's going to lower the mean. Now once again we have our original example, and this time we moved those data points and we shifted them over here to the right of the original mean. Now what's that going to, or right of the median, what's that going to do to our mean? Well, not surprising, it increased it. Look at the values. We're taking a value of 3 and a value of 5, that's 8, and we're turning it into a value of 7 and a value of 8, that's 15. So now we're plus 8 from 15, we're plus 7. So of course it's going to increase our average, and that's what the mean is. So let's try this. Here we have that initial data set, and we know that our median is 5. If we added 2 data points, we're adding these 2 data points right here, they weren't there before, what would you expect to happen to the mean? We're adding a value of each one of these is 2, so we're adding a value of 4, and we're dividing the total by 2 more data points. So instead of 19, now we have 21. Is the difference in adding plus 4 and dividing by 2 extra points, do you think that's going to make a huge difference? I'd venture to say that our mean is probably not going to change a whole lot. Now, what about the median? Well, we can count up our points. We have 21, so I can take out these 3, I can take out these 3, I can take out 2 here, and I'll take out 2 here, I'll take out 2 here, and I'll take out 2 here. I can go 3 here, and I can go 3 here. Well, it didn't change our median either. So if anything, it might increase our mean, but by very, very little, if it even changes it at all. The median would not change at all. Now what happens if we removed these 3 data points? So we're our initial data set, and what happens if we take out that highest set of values right there? What do you think would happen to the median? Well, if those are gone, so these are not here anymore, all of a sudden everything is shifted left. So what happens here? Well, let's see what happens to our median. We can do that pretty quickly. I'm going to take out 4, take out 4, go for 5, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7. And I take this one and this one. So now I have to add 4 and 5. I get 9. I divide 9 by 2 and I get 4.5. So that will shift our median down. Not a lot, but it does shift it down and actually puts it right here. What would happen to the mean? Well, we're taking away from the total a value of 27. So we're minus 27 on our total. And we're also subtracting 3 data points. So instead of having 19, we now have 16. So our total is going to be divided by 16, but our total is also going to be less, 27 less. So what will happen to our mean, or what do we think will happen? Well, it is likely that our mean will probably also decrease. Once again, you can figure it out mathematically. Take each one of these points and multiply it times its value, add them all together and divide by the total number of data points that you have, as you saw in previous slides. You can do the same thing using a histogram. Remember that a histogram is similar to a dot plot in that what it does, a histogram, as you recall, it has a certain number right here, the frequency, and then it has its value down here. So it would be a similar process. Okay, well that's going to end this very brief introduction and video on looking at shifting, adding, and removing data points and the effect that it has on the measures of central tendency, and that would be the mean and the median. Enjoy the activity.